Today is day 3 for the Come Follow Me study for this week, April 13th through the 19th. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Exodus 14 through 18. Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. Exodus 16. Since we all need to eat, the Lord often compares spiritual things to food. Look for his spiritual lessons in the Israelites' experiences with manna in Exodus 16. Israel murmurs for want of bread and lust for the flesh pots of Egypt. Exodus 16:1. And they took their journey to Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after the departure out of the land of Egypt. You'll notice more examples of bitter experiences for the Israelites in Exodus 16 and 17. It's tempting to be critical of their murmuring and complaining, but as you read, consider whether you have done the same thing. Exodus 16:2 through 3. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. The Lord rains bread from heaven and sends quail for meat. Exodus 16:4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. Abraham 3. And we will prove them herewith, to see if they will do all things whatsoever the Lord their God shall command them. And the Lord said, Whom shall I send? And one answered, like unto the Son of Man, Here I am, send me. President Ezra Taft Benson said, The great test of life is obedience to God. We will prove them herewith, said the Lord, to see if they will do all things whatsoever the Lord their God shall command them. The great task of life is to learn the will of the Lord and then do it. The great commandment of life is to love the Lord. Exodus 16:5 through 8. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even then shall ye know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we, that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be, when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. President Dallin H. Oaks said, The Bible teaches that rejection of or murmuring against the counsel of the Lord's servants amounts to actions against the Lord himself. How could it be otherwise? The Lord acts through his servants. That is the pattern he has established to safeguard our agency in mortality. His servants are not perfect, which is another consequence of mortality. But if we murmur against the Lord's servants, we are working against the Lord and his cause, and will soon find ourselves without the companionship of his Spirit. Exodus 16:9 through 15. And Moses spake unto Aaron, Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. In Hebrew, the word manna means, What is it? This was the Israelites' response when they first encountered the miraculous food that appeared on the ground in the wilderness. The Lord provided the Israelites with manna throughout the 40 years they wandered in the wilderness. Manna was described as a small round food substance with the taste of honey wafers or of fresh oil. The Israelites prepared it in a variety of ways. The book of Numbers records that they ground it in mills or beat it in a mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. President Brigham Young said, "Suppose that we had done our best and had not raised one bushel of grain this year. I have confidence enough in my God to believe that we could stay here and not starve to death. If all our cattle had died through the severity of the past winter, if the insects had cut off all our crops, if we still proved faithful to our God and to our religion, I have confidence to believe that the Lord would send manna and flocks of quails to us. But he will not do this if we murmur and are neglectful and disunited. Not having breadstuff nor manna, if we are cut off from those resources, from our provisions, the Lord can fill these mountains and valleys with antelope, mountain sheep, elk, deer, and other animals. He can cause the buffalo to take a stampede on the east side of the Rocky Mountains and fill these mountains and valleys with beef. I have just that confidence in my God. I have confidence enough to believe that if we had not raised our own provisions this year and had proved true and faithful to our God and to our religion, that the Lord would have given us a little bread. This is my confidence in my God. I am no more concerned about this people's suffering unto death than I am concerned about the sun's falling out of its orbit and ceasing to shine on this earth again." Elder Orson Hyde said, "I recollect when we were forced away from Nauvoo at the point of the bayonet, and when we crossed the river to the Iowa side, there were hundreds of our people camped along the shore, and what had they to eat, or to make themselves comfortable with, in the scorching sun and burning with fevers? Nothing. We wanted meat and other comforts, but we had not the means to procure them. And the Lord in mercy sent clouds of quails right into camp. They came into the tents, flew into the wagons, rested on the wagon wheels, ox yokes, and wagon tongues, and our little children could catch them, and there was an abundant supply of meat for the time being. Who financiered that? It was the mercy and generosity of kind Providence." President Heber C. Kimball said, "Shall we ever be brought to want? I tell you, if we live our religion, we never shall. Cannot God Almighty send manna here, honey, and everything else, just as well as he could in the days of Moses? This is the last dispensation, and it has got all the power, the interest, the miracles that were in all of them and tenfold more." Exodus 16:16. "This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tents." The Lord instructed the Israelites to gather an omer of manna for each person in their tent daily. An omer is a unit of measurement that is equivalent to about 2 quarts or half a gallon. What do you find in the Lord's instructions in Exodus 16:16 that applies to your spiritual nourishment? Exodus 16:17 through 18. "And the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating." Manna was a symbol of Jesus Christ. After miraculous feeding the 5,000 during his mortal ministry, the Savior reminded the Jews of the bread from heaven that their ancestors had eaten. He then identified himself as the true bread from heaven. He testified, "I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. And if any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever." Similarities between Moses and Jesus Christ. Both miraculously provided bread for their followers. John 6. "When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes, as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost, Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. John 6. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he that cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh unto me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness, and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread, which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. Exodus 16:19. And Moses said, Let no man leave it till the morning. What do you find in the Lord's instructions in Exodus 16:19 that applies to your spiritual nourishment? Exodus 16:20-21. Notwithstanding they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. Israel is given manna each day, except the Sabbath, for 40 years. Exodus 16:22-26. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord has said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. Elder D. Todd Christofferson taught, by providing a daily sustenance, 1 day at a time, Jehovah was trying to teach faith to a nation that over a period of some 400 years had lost much of their faith of their fathers. He was teaching them to trust him, to look unto him in every thought. Doubt not, fear not. He was providing enough for 1 day at a time. Except for the 6th day, they could not store manna for the use in any succeeding day or days. In essence, the children of Israel had to walk with him today and trust that he would grant a sufficient amount of food for the next day, on the next day, and so on. In that way, he could never be too far from their minds and hearts. Shortly before the Israelites entered the Promised Land, Moses admonished them to remember all that the Lord had done for them in the wilderness. He taught that one of the purposes of the Lord providing manna was to help them know that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord. What do you find in the Lord's instructions in Exodus 16:22-26 that applies to your spiritual nourishment? Exodus 16:27-28. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? Elder Hartman Rector Jr. said, God did not say it would be nice if we kept the commandments. He says, they shall observe the covenants and church articles to do them. Surely obedience is the first law of heaven. We are given to understand that there will be no disobedience in the celestial kingdom. It is therefore vitally important that we keep the commandments with exactness, and not just almost. The account of the Lamanite striplings in the Book of Mormon, as mentioned by Elder Monson, is an excellent illustration of the blessings that flow from precise obedience. Helaman had formed them into an army of 2,060 young men who fought on the side of the Nephites, and when they were fighting for the Nephites could not lose. At one time, 200 of them were so badly wounded that they fainted from the loss of blood. When they were carried from the battlefield, it was thought they were dead, but they weren't. They came back to life again. It seemed they could not be killed. What was their secret? It is recorded in Alma 57:21. Yea, and they did obey, and observed to perform every word of command with exactness. Yes, they gave their mothers credit for teaching them, but they kept the commandments with exactness. This is the great secret. It is so important that we be in condition to serve the Lord, and condition comes only through obedience. Elder F. Enzio Bush said, "Perhaps we may have permitted small, bad habits or attitudes to enter into our lives, or perhaps we have even lost to some degree an understanding of the importance of keeping a covenant with exactness. If so, we are in a dangerous state. We must become aware of it. We cannot afford to ignore the situation." Exodus 16:29-31. See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day, and the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. The manna was used by God to teach lessons for spiritual instruction as well as physical sustenance. Israel was told that with the failure of other food suffered thee to hunger. His provision of manna was to make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. God used the provision of manna on 6 days, and not the 7th, to teach Israel obedience, and convicted them of disobedience. Jesus Christ uses the manna, God-given bread from heaven, as a type of himself, the true bread of life, and contrasts the shadow with the substance. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness, and are dead. But he could say, I am the bread of life, which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. Exodus 16:32-36. And Moses said, This is a thing which the Lord commandeth. Fill an omer of it, to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread therewith. I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations. And the Lord commanded Moses. So Aaron laid it up before the testimony, to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. To discover other lessons the Lord may want you to learn from this miracle, ponder questions like these. What does the Lord give me that is like the daily manna that he gave the Israelites? What can I do that is like gathering manna? You may find additional insights in one or more of the following videos.
I think it's not by chance God has created us in a way that we have to have daily physical sustenance. The children of Israel coming out of Egypt lived for 40 years approximately on something called manna. They couldn't have lived from hunting, and their lifestyle was such that they couldn't be planting, so they really didn't have an alternative. God was, in essence, providing their daily sustenance. And I think at least one of his purposes was to teach them to remember him, to think of him, to look to him, to have faith in him, that he was the source of their life. He did it in the way of making it a daily thing. They couldn't gather up manna and store it. It would only be good for one day. They couldn't forget who was the source of their blessings. There's a spiritual parallel in our day. We all recognize the need for physical sustenance. Hunger and thirst remind us very strongly if we forget. But the spiritual need for sustenance is equally strong. That comes not in drinking water and eating food, but in our constant daily efforts of communion with God. We ought not to think that we can go weeks and months without spiritual sustenance and not suffer, and not to have a deadening influence in our spiritual life. Acknowledging the reality of our need for a daily spiritual ministration or manna helps us increase in our courage to do the right thing and to serve others more than we would have if we ignored God. People sometimes think, well, those are such small things. Prayer, immersing ourselves in the scriptures, pondering, meditating. How can that really produce a significant difference in a person's life? But it does. As small as those things seem to be, as daily routine sometimes they may seem to be, these are the kinds of things that day by day transform us. To a large extent, I believe our faith in God is a consequence or a fruit of experience. Quite a few years ago, I made a financial investment in a small business, and it began to require more to stay afloat, and still didn't do well, and more was required. And it became a terrible economic threat. I remember having to go before the Lord with nowhere else to turn, and in tears and pleading, just seek for anything that He would provide in His love and wisdom. What I learned in that process was what it's like to come to a point in your life where you really have nowhere to turn but to God. And in those circumstances, one truly learns how to pray and how to receive the answers that come. Sometimes it was nothing more than a feeling that things would work out somehow. No indication of how or when, but it would be all right. Sometimes it was an idea that would make a difference. And so it became, during portions of this experience, a matter of getting the manna for that day, the help that could only come from Him, from God, for the moment, not the long term, just the immediate need. I think what we have to do when the pressures are there and the clouds are dark and threatening is take life a day at a time. It helps at times not to think too far ahead and just do what the day requires. Give us this day our daily bread. We're not anticipating the hardship or suffering that might be entailed. We sometimes just have to break it down to this moment, this day. And while deliverance isn't immediate and you may not see the end, still, you've got enough for today. When this began happening in my life, my prayer was, give me a miracle, solve this problem. And it took a while to finally come to the point of saying, I'm content to get a daily help and let it take what time it takes, knowing that I can rely upon God. And it's been a blessing to me ever since to have had that rather harrowing experience because of what it meant for my relationship with Him. Maybe the greater blessing for us is to have to walk through it with Him. The bread of eternal life, the core substance that we need to become what we aspire to become, is in the person of Jesus Christ. His atonement, His suffering for sin, and the resultant capacity to extend mercy. He can heal and forgive and cleanse anything. I don't think everyone realizes that when we do sin, when we turn away from God, it does something in us. And when we repent and turn to Him, that effect in us is taken away. With His atonement, we become different people than we would be without it. And its power is infinite, truly infinite, and can reach down and sanctify and make holy to the uttermost any soul. There's a purpose in life far beyond living comfortably. The bread we receive is to enable us to act and to help and serve. Not only are we helping, but we're being blessed and helped and changed. We're not transformed, as you know, overnight. These things come in process of time, and their changes are incremental. And the people don't see them until they look back and see where they are as opposed to where they were. Just as I learned not to expect immediate deliverance from a problem, he's also saying, I'm patient with your progress. I'll just help you along day by day. And all of that truly does add up to a dramatic change, an eternal difference. When the Israelites finally did cross the Jordan into their promised land, they were expected by God to remember him, to think of him, to look to him, to have faith in him. As we turn to him each day and remember him each day, and we come to know by experience that he's real and that he does care about and love us and minister to us, just as he did the ancient Israelites, because he is the bread of life.
Think of other things besides eating that you do every day. Why do certain things have to be done daily to be effective? What do you feel inspired to do to seek daily spiritual experiences?